Hey there quirky people, today we are going to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Spoiler warnings for those who haven't watched the film yet. Go watch the film if you haven't till now, and those who have should stick around because we are going to see how Shang-Chi managed to set up MCU's future. This film was a complete package. It was the best origin story we have had since Black Panther. It was packed with some scintillating action, the kind that MCU hasn't really given us a whole lot of. There was heart and humor. The story was great. It was about love and family. And you got a giant spectacle in the third act that was worthy of an IMAX viewing. All in all, this film stuck to the typical MCU formula, but at the same time, it was fairly experimental and successfully introduced us to a new area within MCU's vast multiverse. And then we got the cameo-filled post-credit scene. The last one gave us a setup for a possible Shang-Chi sequel, or perhaps it may have set up a Disney Plus show based on a Ten Rings fighting tournament.
The legacy of all who came before you. It is all a part of who you are.
It could give us our favorite versus battles.
Is this what you wanted?
But the first post-credit scene was setting up the bigger picture. We got a couple of very surprising cameos from Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers.
Yeah, I'm back.
And ultimately the conclusion suggested the fact that the Ten Rings were actually acting as a beacon. They were signaling a foreign entity across the universe or perhaps somewhere in the multiverse. A lot of big picture villains are being set up. Apparently Wanda has unleashed an unspeakable threat. A big villain is said to be coming in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now I don't know if the threat that the Ten Rings seem to be calling in is the same one that Wanda unleashed.
Oh God, you don't know what you've done.
It could be the same or it could be different. Anything is possible. But before we look at all the possibilities, it would be nice if you guys would hit the subscribe button and do press the notification bell so you don't miss out on our future videos. Okay, now for the first possibility we have the Celestials. It has been stated that the Ten Rings are much older than 1,000 years. Now the Eternals have been on Earth for 7,000 years. So there is a chance that Wenwu got his hands on the rings through them. So when Shang-Chi took the rings, they could have begun to send signals to the Celestials. Eternals is the next film that is coming out, and one could think that Shang-Chi may have set up the very next incoming threat. But the trailers of Eternals have suggested that the emergence happens right after Hulk's snap. So the film could be taking place within a week after everyone was brought back to life.
The sudden return of the population provided the necessary energy for the emergence to begin.
That means Eternals takes place even before WandaVision. Meanwhile, Shang-Chi seems to be taking place during No Way Home or a little while after it. Keep in mind that Eternals was originally supposed to arrive before Shang-Chi and even WandaVision. So perhaps Shang-Chi was always supposed to take place after Eternals. Hence we would count the Celestials out of the question. The next possibility is SHUMA GORATH. The final battle of Shang-Chi gave us the gigantic Soul Sucker. This was a monster that came from another dimension like Dormammu did in Doctor Strange. SHUMA GORATH has been the rumored villain for Doctor Strange 2 for quite a while. And it is certainly possible that the Ten Rings were signaling this tentacle-bearing multiversal monster. Mind you, Phase 4 has been mostly focused upon the multiverse. Wanda gave us a setup for Doctor Strange 2. Loki has clearly opened up the multiverse. No Way Home will obviously lead directly into Doctor Strange 2. Now What If is doing quite a bit to set up a multiverse that's full of madness, and it even featured a monster similar to SHUMA GORATH twice. So it is certainly possible that Shang-Chi is also contributing with the direct setup to the next Doctor Strange movie. There's a reason why Wong was involved in Shang-Chi. It would be safe to assume that not only will Shang-Chi return in Doctor Strange 2, but he might lead us to SHUMA GORATH. If not this particular villain, then we might see CHTHON. Agatha Harkness specifically mentioned that Wanda had unleashed a bigger threat.
You have no idea what you've unleashed. You're gonna need me.
While most people believe that this being could be someone like MEPHISTO or Nightmare, there is a major chance that Agatha was actually talking about CHTHON. He is one of the most powerful elder gods of Earth who degenerated into a demonic state. He ruled Earth in primordial times but was driven away by other elder gods. He's also the one who wrote the Darkhold in the comics. We know him as the master of chaos magic. In the MCU, CHTHON could be the one who chose Wanda to regain control over Earth, and he could also be the one that the Ten Rings are summoning. But apart from CHTHON, we've got a couple demons in mind. The first of them could be Nightmare.
Feeding him for eternity.
You may be aware that Scott Derrickson was initially going to direct Doctor Strange 2, and Nightmare was his villain of choice. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was obviously rewritten by Michael Waldron, but there may be a chance that he kept Nightmare as one of his villains. Nightmare rules the dream dimension and feeds off of people's fears by trapping them in their nightmares. So I won't be surprised or disappointed if the Ten Rings were attracting him from his dimension. But I'd be even happier if it calls in Mephisto. This demon/devil has been teased ever since WandaVision. Marvel subverted the expectation of so many people by not revealing him in WandaVision. But what if recently teased a Mephisto-like demon? Spider-Man No Way Home is practically referring to Mephisto using Doctor Strange. So maybe this time we are getting the slot of one of the hell dimensions through Shang-Chi. I have been down the Mephisto road before, and all I experienced was denial for his existence. But I would love it if this fiery demon were to be linked to the all-powerful Ten Rings. I would love it if somehow he were to arrive in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Then again, I won't be betting all my chips on him this time around. He's quite devious, and so is Marvel. So, we could see someone else called in by the Ten Rings. My next assumption is FANG FOOM. This is the alien dragon that we believed would appear in the Legend of the Ten Rings. But instead, we got the Great Protector, who defended Talo against the Soul Suckers. One could argue that the Great Protector replaced FANG FOOM in the MCU. But what if this shape-shifting talking dragon from the comics was actually set up for the future? I mean, the Ten Rings could be acting as a beacon for this green dragon. And he could arrive in the sequel of Shang-Chi, giving us yet another crazy CGI battle, just like the third act of the first film. What if the Ten Rings were actually the rings that FANG FOOM used to wear? That's why they might be called rings instead of bracelets. Let's see if this theory comes true, but if it doesn't, then my final candidate is Galactus.
The devourer of worlds, tremble at the might of Galactus.
More than anything, the Ten Rings setup seemed to be a long-term one. It could be similar to how the Infinity Gauntlet had been set up for Thanos in the future. And this time, the Ten Rings could be calling in someone even bigger. Right now, Kang is probably the acting villain of the next Avengers outing.
Seems like a nice fella.
But after him, we could have the Devourer of Worlds, Galactus. Marvel may have placed his setup in Phase 4 itself, and it will be interesting to see when Galactus makes his first appearance. Okay, that's all. Maybe we'll get some other unfamiliar dimensional monster like Shang-Chi's Soul Sucker. Or maybe it will be one of the individuals that I have discussed in this video. Which of them do you think was signaled by the rings? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to check out some more fun content on our channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.